Hey Q. I figured I would go live just because I've been silent for as long as I've tried to. I've tried my hardest to not engage. I've let people dictate to me how I should show up in the midst of them asking me for my help. And I just feel like I'm in a position right now where my safety has been jeopardized tremendously. And I watched them kill Malcolm. I watched them kill Martin. I watched them assassinate Fred Hampton. This morning was the first time I walked out of my house and I hit the button on my car from the steps because I was too afraid to walk over to the car and open the door thinking that it might explode. Today I had a conversation in regards to having permanent security. I'm unsure of a lot of things. I'm unsure of a lot of people. But one thing I'm sure about is who I am. For the last 4.5, 5 years, I began to get attacked. I began to get attacked when I started working for Tito Jackson by a light-skinned black man from the community. And for the most part, when it first started happening, it caught me in shock. And I was like, let me reach out to a number of different people to get them to have a conversation so that this can stop. Everything from employment to my housing, this man attacked. And for the most part, I just tuned it out. I was told to not engage. I contacted the Nation of Islam. I contacted black men, black women in community saying, hey, can you help with this situation? I was told if they didn't ignore me totally, don't engage, ignore it, let it ride, let it ride. The frustration with that is out of the same breath, they would say, why can't we all just work together? I remember recently being on a violence prevention call with a bunch of people who do this work. And I said, I'll work with anybody except for one person because that person has caused so much unaddressed harm that I refuse to. And the black woman on that call said, that's the problem. We all got to work together. And I thought, would you tell your daughter or your son to sit and be in community and work with their rapist or their abuser? Or would you tell somebody who was sexually assaulted by their uncle, you still got to sit next to uncle at Thanksgiving? The moment I did the march on June 2nd, I began to get a lot of support. And I remember the Boston Herald said, she wields political power but has never held a political office. And I remember thinking that statement is going to be dangerous for a lot of people who have a problem with that because of the power that they said I held, even though I didn't hold political office. Around the same time, an elected official contacted me to inform me about the attacks they were receiving, as well as attacks that were happening. And like me, Captain Savo, I was like, let me jump in because, oh, hell no, this can't happen. And I did a live video where I used the same words that people use in health class. And I was like, basically the gist of what I said is, It shouldn't matter who you're in a relationship with or who you sleep with. That should not dictate how you treat people that look like you. Because this person was saying a lot of violent things towards one of our beloved black women. And she's a black woman, but she organizes and shows up with white supremacists. A black man took that video, that social media video, edited it, created a link, and gave it to white supremacists. Gave it to every news media outlet in the city. Sent it to World Star Hip Hop. And I began to get death threats that I've received death threats in the past, but the ones that I began to get was so volatile, vile, nasty, and just disgusting. I reached out to a number of different entities. I reached out to the DA's office. I spoke with the AG's office. And these individuals, I was told, was protected by First Amendment. And because of my prominence and the size of my platform, the higher you grow, the less protections you have, unless there are direct threats, which some of them were. But a lot of them were just calling me everything from an ape to a gorilla to a cunt to a racist and so on and so forth. In my mind, though, I felt like I have no protections, right? I felt like, damn, there's no recourse to nothing that I'm going through. I just got to suffer and rock through it. I consistently received attacks, but then the attacks escalated. I did a press conference with Joe Kennedy down at the Federal Building, and I wasn't speaking. I was just there to stand in solidarity with him because I endorsed him. An individual shows up in between 10, 15 news cameras screaming that I'm a racist, screaming whatever they were screaming. First instinct is to defend yourself. Second instinct is, damn, what if I had my son with me? Because it was in the middle of the afternoon and usually CJ is with me. But then when this person finished screaming and they said, who gave them the heads up to come down to the press conference? And I found out that it was a black person. It was bothersome. I don't know if it's true or not. But what I will say is that my experience has been that people that look like me have orchestrated attacks against me using white supremacy that is now jeopardizing the life of me and my family. So fast forward, the day of my grand opening, I hadn't arrived yet. I get a call. Monica, these people are here with signs and they're protesting. Immediately I knew who it was. I'm calling different people who are at my event, asking them, can they address it? Because as a black woman and as an activist, my biggest fear is having to call 911. 911 is always a last resort. 911 is not a number that I feel comfortable using for multiple different reasons. For my own death, for the death of whoever is around me, and so on and so forth. So by the time I get here, it escalated to the point where black men who love me tried to defend me, and I seen that it was going to take a bad turn. So we contacted 911. The police came. The police advised us, because this has happened more than once, complete a police report so that you can get a harassment order to prevent them from coming to private property, because at this point now they were on the property, which is private, it's not public. So I hesitated. I didn't do it that day. The next day, I finally mustered up the courage because they were planning to continuously ambush me no matter where they see me at. And so I made a phone call to an officer who I felt like knows who I am and will understand, and what I was saying to him wouldn't sound outlandish. He assisted me, handed me to another officer who took the report. That was on September 8th. September 11th, the white supremacist organization dropped another article of the many articles that they have dropped on me. In this particular article, they say, Monica filed a police report. And they have a picture of the officer who I called and his wife. But they had details that the average person requesting a police report didn't have. The other thing that I noticed is that the picture they used of the police report was them taking a picture of the police officer's screen. Not that they requested the report and had the actual paperwork, but whoever this white supremacist is has a relationship with a cop and took a picture of the cop's computer screen, which was stupid because now we see that it was in the office. Immediately when that happened, I was like, what the hell? So the detective who had been helping me contacted me day before yesterday. And he said, Monica, you haven't given me the information that I need so that we can move forward. And I said, I haven't given you the information because I feel sketchy about even talking to you. I'm like, some things have transpired that have me feeling uncomfortable. He's like, I said, this white supremacist organization dropped an article and it had the officer who helped me, a picture of him and his wife. And the things that they were saying are things that the average citizen wouldn't know. And I was like, for those reasons, I feel some type of way. He said, well, when you say you feel some type of way, what are you saying? And I said, I feel like it came from the inside. I feel like an officer leaked this information to the white supremacist organization. And that officer said to me, I was trying to be diplomatic, but it definitely came from the inside. And at the same time, I felt like, what the fuck did I just hear? I felt like, what do you mean? But then I had to put it into perspective. The police is not an organization, and I've said it myself, that is to protect and serve Black people. The police are an organization that was created to catch and return slaves. But automatically, I begin to think of all the Black women activists who have died. I begin to think of the Black woman activist who came home in Atlanta and her son was hanging from a tree in the backyard. I begin to think of all the Black activists who have ended up shot on street corners dead with no witnesses and them not know who shot them and how they got shot. I begin to think about Fred Hampton. I begin to think about Malcolm X. I begin to think about Martin Luther King. I begin to think about just a bunch of different people who have died in this fight of advocating for their community while simultaneously being attacked by a community, both Black men and Black women, but also white men and white women. I had a Black man do a live video and said my life had no value. I had a Black woman Republican supporter bring white supremacists to my establishment. And oftentimes I hear, well, Monica, who did you talk to? Or did you tell anybody? Or did you ask for help? And the issue I have with that is that I've reached out to so many people in this thing that we call community and asked for help that at this point, I'm disgusted. I've reached out to Black men and been told that while I was being attacked, the individual is doing exactly what he should be doing. I've had Black men tell me that because of the words I used, I should go on an apology tour instead of having my life protected. I've had Black men say to me that we have to recognize that everybody has the right to protest. And I guess my thing is I'm figuring it out now, right? I'm figuring out why Black women die. I figure out why Black activists die, right? In the midst of everything I'm going through, people have still demanded that I show up and support them. People have still demanded that I be there for them. I am literally feeling like my life is in danger and having to have conversations about, well, be careful about what you say and how you say it because I don't want it to jeopardize your funding. And my response was, what if I'm dead? Like, all the funding in the world can't explain to my kids why somebody killed me. Or the mysterious accident where my car runs off the road. Or me ending up shot somewhere where nobody can come and help me. In the time that I've done work in the city of Boston, I put my life on the line for so many. For Black men, for Black women, for Black children. I've stood up for immigrant communities. I've used my body to protect everybody who you could possibly imagine when it comes to Black folks and people of color. So for me to have a conversation about, oh, I'll support you, but behind the scenes, or I'm sorry what's happening to you, but you should just let it die down and ignore it. Seems to me that y'all are the same people who would have a little girl sit at the dinner table at Thanksgiving with the uncle who's been molesting her for 10 years. The police department is the biggest gang in this country. They literally handed my police report to people who show up at protests with AR-15s and kill Black people. For the Black man that handed my information over to white supremacists to attack me because he felt inferior, because he felt like I wasn't educated enough to have this platform, because he felt like I wasn't qualified. Black man, who do you represent? Who is you advocating for, Black man? Black man, how do you make right out of saying my life has no value while still claiming to be for Black lives? I be confused. I be confused as hell because even in the midst of my life being in jeopardy, even in the midst of feeling like at any given time they could fucking kill me, I've saved this Black man's life. And y'all are like, how you save his life? Because I think people forget that there are a group of people who actually love me unapologetically, publicly, and authentically, that would love to address the issue that I'm dealing with. And I'm like, no, because I'm trying to be valued. I'm trying to practice nonviolence. And I thought, how unfair is it that a Black woman who is under attack, whose life is in jeopardy, who I can post messages of them saying they want to rape and kill my children in front of me, is still managing to protect the Black man who orchestrated the attack? And have somebody ask me, what about your funding? I think about 2 months ago, I sat in the Fairfield Inn by Marriott. I got dressed. I left my house. I was getting so many attacks that I couldn't keep up. And they were getting closer and closer to the point where I felt like they were going to kill one of us, meaning me or one of my kids. And I said to myself, the only way out of this is death. I said, if I leave, then I can protect my children and my husband. So I turned off the location on both of my phones. I turned off my phones. I drove to the Fairfield Inn by Marriott in Walpole because in my mind, I was going to go in this hotel room and I was going to kill myself. And I can remember the kids calling my backup phone. I could remember the kids, mommy, just answer us. Mommy, just answer us. I remember my best friend texting my phone. Like, yo, you can't not answer. We're worried about you. And the only thing that saved me was the fact that I said, who the fuck gonna take care of these kids if I die? And you're like, well, how did it get to that point? Because the amount of Black people in this community who are toxic, dysfunctional, and perpetuate white supremacy, I think stings more than any white person could ever. The amount of quote unquote leaders that I've reached out to for help who told me they were grieving the death of a famous politician, or that they couldn't do it right then and there, or that they quite didn't know what to do, or that I should just ignore it, is disgusting. There is no leadership in Boston when it comes to the Black community. It doesn't matter what organization you name, there is no leadership. I had one Black woman who runs a very Black-ass organization ask me to be a part of something. And I said, sure, I'll do it. And the next statement out her mouth was, well, I just want to let you know I'm going to call said Black man who orchestrated the white supremacists against me because we all have to work together. And I said to her, just like this, no, the fuck you won't. I am not required to be in community with my abuser. And she said, well, you just said we all have to work together. I thought this was just banter. I didn't know that this was serious between you and him. And I thought to myself, you sit on social media, you're in community with this person. You've seen every attack. You've seen every ounce of disrespect. You've seen everything that this man has said about me. And I know for a fact because you're one of his favorites. And you're going to tell me you didn't know the seriousness of it? Black people that perpetuate harm and white supremacy are just as dangerous as white folks. And in this city, we do accountability horrible. And I save so many reputations and relationships by not telling the truth and by not speaking out. And I've been silent so long that it's disrespectful. I think that when I got ready to march in 2017, and it was 8 Black quote unquote leaders that called my phone to try to discourage me from marching. And I did it anyway. And then they came and said to me how great of a job I did. And I can't help but think, but you told me not to do it. You told me to go pray. I think about the fact that there are so many Black women in our community that have been harmed. And who do they go to? Who do you talk to? I think about, to be a Black woman, a mom of 6 kids, 4 I gave birth to, 2 I adopted, a Black woman who has had 5 miscarriages, a Black woman who almost died twice, a Black woman who continuously, in the midst of all my pain and every loss, still showed up for everybody in this community. I literally had just suffered a miscarriage before I did the march in 2017. My grandmother is laying in hospice care, dying. 2 weeks ago, I was diagnosed with spinal arthritis. Then to be attacked and have to protect a black man who has offered my life to white supremacists, to continuously show up for community and give away and help and feed and house. When is enough enough? Do I have to be dead for y'all to show up and go, oh my gosh, she was so amazing, we loved her, she did good work? Because the very people who are allowing this to happen will do exactly that. I think about how even in the midst of critiquing me, a black woman asked me to organize a protest for another black woman and then left me by myself to deal with the attack from white supremacists. The accountability in the city of Boston is trash. Everybody up until this point who has been of color, except for a selected a few, love to get close to me for my platform when they want me to post something. Love to say that they know Monica when it benefits them. Love to utilize my name in spaces for validity. But then the moment I go to lean on you, you fall and you break. I was told that for this march that we're doing on Tuesday, that I should let other people speak for me and advocate for me so that it doesn't seem as if it's coming from me, so that I can see that people have my back. And the moment I go to stand out on them fucking branches, they break. And then they go, well, why you always doing everything yourself? Because when have I ever had anybody I could depend on and trust that didn't want the money in my pocket, my platform, this notoriety that I never fucking asked for, or this recognition? Everybody be excited for the limelight. I would give anything in the world to give this shit back. They question your finances, but ain't never ran an organization. They want to talk about your taxes and ain't had a job in 5 years. Every ounce of my life has been called into question, and everybody has these conversations amongst themselves, but have yet to call my phone and ask me directly. Cowards, internet thugs, cyber bullies, the very thing that we're trying to advocate not happen to children. 99.9% of you misogynistic, egotistical, white supremacy perpetuating individuals do to grown folks every day. But you call yourself a leader. Don't be mad at this platform I have, because you could have did the same thing had you not been toxic. And I made a decision a long time ago to stop asking for permission, but just simply ask for forgiveness as I do what I'm going to do regardless. And I don't wait for nobody to protect me or get in front of all these bullets that I've taken. I don't wait for nobody to come and defend my honor in regards to this reputation that they've tried to ruin. Because the relationships that I have with the people that you envy are based off of authenticity. When I sit on the phone and I talk to Mara Haley, it's, how are you doing? How are the kids? What's going on with you? Those are relationships. I can't put a relationship in front of bullets. You want it so bad, but you can never hold the weight that I hold. You can never fight the fight that I fight every day. And still, it's Monica, hey, can you do this? You know, yesterday, I got into a back and forth with a woman who wanted to partner with my organization, an Asian woman. And the conversation was so toxic. But I always struggle with this narrative that is created about me being difficult, about me not being easy to work with. And she said to me that what Asians were going through was worse than what Black people were going through. And that I should partner with her because her family personally raised money in this fundraiser. And so I need to figure it out. And I sat up in my chair And I said, how much money did you give? And she told me it was $7,000. And I instructed my finance person to forward her money back with a nice note about how black I am, unapologetically black I am, right? Because while everybody's worried about how much money Monica and Violence in Boston is getting, nobody wants to talk about the amount of money I've given back for my values. Nobody wants to talk about every time a white woman gave me money and then question the validity of my organization without using Google, how I gave it back. You can't buy me. That's what makes y'all mad. That I came this far saying motherfucker, not kissing ass. But I thought that's what we were supposed to do. And I'm not critiquing anyone who's had to code switch to take care of their bills. I'm critiquing the individuals who spend their time attacking me because they're mad that they're not me. At this point, my life is on the line. And I know you don't care because you didn't care when you handed me over to white supremacists. The same white supremacists that would kill you. That wouldn't hesitate to drag you. All it takes is an ask, right? All it takes is an ask, but nobody's asking me anything. I've been fighting this fight for 4.5 years. And every time I go through it, I have a number of people that be more concerned about my bank account than they are my life. And I always give this analogy to people. So I'm a kid that grew up in the hood, right? And me and you go to the club. And we in the club, and for whatever reason, you haul off and you punch somebody in the face. In my mind, it's go time. And then when we get to the car, I'm going to ask you why you punched that person in the face. Because in that moment, your life matters. Your safety is an issue. I don't know all the details, but I'm going to protect you until we get somewhere safe and then question the details. Essentially, what I've been dealing with is people who have spoken out against me, who claim to not have all the details, people who are more concerned about words that I used in my life, and then sat idle while that same life was put in jeopardy. Monica cuts you off and never talks to you again, and she just throws you away. No, you put yourself in the air and I kick away the chair. Why? Because my loyalty looks different. Oftentimes, when it's time to have conversations about Monica's not included in those conversations. I get the after conversation of when everyone has come to decisions on how to deal with me and who I am as a person. This live video ain't an attack. It's me telling my truth because I now have Boston police who are handing me over to white supremacists, which essentially they're one and the same. This live video is to say that a Boston police officer handed my report over before it was even allowed to be given to me to a white supremacist, to the point where they didn't obtain the report from making the request and having it sent to them. They literally took a picture of the officer's screen. The question is if they did that to me, how many other people have that been done to and their safety been jeopardized or their life been lost? Black women are required to show up in spite of pain. Black women are required to show up in spite of hurt. And God forbid you are a caramel 6'2", 200 plus black woman, then your life doesn't need to be protected because hell, you can protect yourself. Megan Thee Stallion got shot in both feet. I watch black men and women critique everything. Oh, as big as she is, she probably deserved it. She was probably whooping his ass. According to her size, I don't see how he was able to do that. And then I watched that woman get on live video and say, even though he shot me, I protected his life, which is why I didn't say who did it, because the police are killing black men or beating the hell out of them. Now, I need y'all to put into perspective for me how much strength it takes to be shot in both feet and still protect the life of the perpetrator. Put that into perspective for me, how that's okay. Where you literally have bullets in you, but you know that if you tell the police who did it, that black man is going to die, even in the midst of you not knowing if you're going to die, and you still show up because that's what black women do. I watched a video of this black woman who was being harassed by white supremacists in another state. And a bunch of black men from the community showed up and camped outside her house. To protect her and her children. Because she was afraid. I'm not allowed to be afraid. I curse. I can't want protection for my life because I'm not respectable. I don't hold a political office. I'm not a part of a sorority. I don't have a bunch of letters at the end of my name for all the degrees that I have. So in this particular situation, my life has no value according to the black man who stated so. And everybody's like, don't believe the shit that he's saying. I walked out of my house this morning and it was the first time that I thought, let me hit the button and open the door in case they try to blow up my fucking car. I started the car and took a deep breath. Then I get around people and they go, how do you feel? I feel like at any given moment, I could be taken out because I said Black Lives Matter and I didn't pick and choose which ones mattered. I feel like, damn, where's the black men in that video in my city? I feel like the same black man that launched this attack and perpetuated it is allowed to be a part of our community and do things in our community without the regard of black women and the harm that he has caused black women. So, hired my own security. We're going to march on Tuesday. We're going to rally outside of the police station. Because I got some demands. I want the officer who leaked that report fired. And in regards to a civilian review board, let's do some vetting of that board to make sure that the people who sit on that civilian review board don't perpetuate white supremacy at the expense of black lives. Don't ask me, did I reach out to anybody? Don't ask me if I talked to anybody, because I'm not. Every time I have a conversation with somebody, I feel like I'm explaining why my life matters. I feel like I have to give them an overview and a story as to why my life is more important than any funding that any organization could give me. And I'm done explaining why my life matters. Either you with me or you against me. And that's just it. I'm going to continue to be who I am. I'm going to continue to show up for Black lives because I don't know what it looks like to not do so. What I will not continue to do is to allow people to use me, devalue my life while benefiting off of me, and give me every reason in the world why someone else's life matters more than mine, because I wasn't respectable enough. I didn't curtsy before I sat down. I seen a black woman tag me in a post this week, and she said, after watching what Monica and this other elected official went through, I can deal with what I'm going through in my part of the woods. And a black woman got on her post and basically said that stay classy and respectable and it won't happen to you. And I thought, wow. So black women who are respectable and classy don't get disrespected? Don't get harassed? Don't get stalked and treated like they don't matter? Don't get publicly humiliated? This narrative that we're creating is disgusting, coming from older black women in our community. This narrative that you get to tell me how I'm such a leader and a thought leader and simultaneously tell me that my language is problematic while not acknowledging the attacks from black women is disgusting and violent. Also, the same way that you're commenting on these live videos that are disrespecting and slandering me, people are sending screenshots and astonished that grown senior black women are engaging in such toxic behavior. Again, I stay protecting people's reputations or showing up in spite of. Yeah, they did that to you, but it's okay. We still need you. It's toxic, y'all. It's toxic. It's dysfunctional. I'm exhausted. And I'm done. Pull up. Tuesday, 1 o'clock. Protect black women. Not just the ones you're friends with. Because today, they attack Monica. Tomorrow, they attack you.